Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today for another really fun art project. Today we're going to do a fun oil pastel project inspired by Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was a famous artist who lived in the late 1800s. He actually died in 1890, and he did most of his paintings in the last 10 years of his life. So he painted like 900 paintings in 10 years. That's a lot of painting. But he was well known. Actually, he didn't become well known until after he died, but he was known for Post Impressionism, which is using big, vivid lines or vivid colors, big, bold lines, and lots of color and emotion in his paintings. So today we're going to do that, but we're going to use oil pastels instead of paint to create our vivid colors and our bold lines. So I hope you'll have fun with me today in this project. So this is what we are going to be doing. We'll be doing a sunflower in a vase project. You'll be able to be creative by using your own colors and designing the vase the way that you would like it to be drawn. So what you need for this project is a piece of black construction paper, a pencil with a pink eraser. We're actually not going to draw with the pencil part. We're actually going to draw with the eraser part. So you'll need one of those, and then some oil pastels. I have brought out my big pack of oil pastels because I'm going to use lots of colors to layer today. So hopefully you have a lot of choices for oil pastels. You could do it, if you don't have oil pastels, you could use regular color crayons. Just get a bunch of colors because you'll want to use lots of colors to color on top of each other. I just like oil pastels because they're so much more brighter. It's kind of like a fancy crayon, and they just create lots of bold colors when you use them. So let's get started. So we're going to put our paper in portrait direction. That's up and down in front of us. This is landscape, but we're going to do portrait direction today. So what you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to draw with the eraser part of your pencil today. So first of all, we're going to start with the vase part of our drawing. So you can create any shape of vase you want. I'm actually going to make a fun shape today. So I'm just going to start with a straight line across. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll try to press harder so you can really see that eraser line. What's nice about that is you can just brush it away and it'll get covered by the oil pastel. So not a big deal. If you don't like your line, you can just brush it away and try it again. Okay, and it will get covered by the oil pastel later. So I'm going to start with my top of my vase, and I am going to create the bottom of my vase here. And I think I'm going to make it just about the same size as my top. This is just helpful if you draw the bottom and the top, and then you can connect the lines on the side. So you could make a round bottom. You could do a curved line for a round bottom if you want, or I'm just doing this time. So here I did a straight line across for the top of the vase and a curved line for the bottom of the vase. And then I made a little top kind of to my vase. And then this time I'm going to draw some curvy lines to connect it. So draw that line straight down the side and then some curvy. And I'm just doing the same line over here. I'm going to do like I'm looking in a mirror. I'm just going to do the reverse of that line. So I'm going to follow the same shape. So my vase looks the same on both sides. Just a mirror image, like a mirror image of it. I think I like that vase. All right, so then I'm going to draw a little line straight across and stop when I get to my vase, and then a straight line on the other side. This is going to be the table our vase is sitting on, because we don't want it floating around on our paper. We want it sitting on something. Okay, so then I'm going to draw the center of my flower, making sure I leave a little room at the top for those sunflower petals. The petals aren't huge on the sunflower. They're smaller petals, but the center is quite large. Now, if you wanted to do some different type of flower, you're welcome to do that. Maybe find a picture of a flower that you like, and you can draw a different shaped flower. But for today, I'm going to do a sunflower. So I'm going to do a big circle, making sure I have room on the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make some curved lines all the way around my circle. Okay. And if they're a little bit different shapes, that's okay. Or if they're a tiny bit different size, that's okay too. But we're going to go around our whole flower, creating those curved lines. Remember to still draw with our eraser. There we go. And then we're going to draw our stem. So it's just 2 straight lines down into the pot. And I'm going to draw 2 little leaves coming out of the stem. So a curved line and another curved line, almost like a little almond shape. There we go. Now, if you don't have room for leaves, you can leave the leaves off. That's totally up to you. All right, so I'm going to brush away those eraser marks a little bit so I can just see my lines. And now I'm going to, if you like what you've drawn and you're happy with all your lines, you're going to take a white oil pastel and trace over those lines. And then you'll be able to see them really well when you start to color. So we're just going to use a light, and I'm not pushing very hard. This time with my oil pastel, I'm just going to lightly sketch over my lines just so I can see them better. And this is a good time if you need to make any changes. This would be a good time. You could do that right now. Now, sunflowers have pretty thick stems. Here's the top of my vase, my leaves, and then the bottom of my vase, the sides, I mean, and then the bottom. Here we go. And then the back of the table that our vase is sitting on. All right. So when we color our picture now, we're going to layer our colors. That means we're going to color one color down and then we're going to color another color on top of it. That's why I wanted you to have lots of colors so you could choose from. Now, normally in oil pastel, I have you do really short strokes close together, but we're kind of being inspired by Vincent van Gogh, so we're going to be more bold in our coloring today and use bigger strokes, and we're going to go different directions, and we don't necessarily have to cover. We can let some of that paper, some of that color show behind today. So I'm going to start with my flower and my vase, and then I'll do my background. So like here I did a yellow sunflower with an orange vase, and then I used the complementary colors to orange and to yellow. So on the color wheel, blue is opposite orange. They're complementary. That's why I use blue, and then purple is complementary to yellow, and that's why I use purple and blue for the background, because I thought that would make my flower and my pot just pop right off the page. So I probably will do that again, use those similar colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my darker color first, and then I'm going to layer lighter colors on top. So I'm going to start with a orangish red color because that's pretty dark on my vase. So I'm just going to go ahead and start coloring. Now I am going to push down kind of hard because I do want to, I want it to be bright, bold colors, but I don't have to be as careful about going all in one direction. I can let a little bit of my black paper show through. That's okay. But I don't want to color real light, and I don't have a nice thick color. I want to really give a firm push to my oil pastel so I have a nice bold color come off on the paper. So this is a fun way to color. A little bit different than what I normally have kids color on there with the oil pastels. There, see how I still have a little bit of paper showing through, and I used bigger strokes and didn't matter if they were as close together. Now I'm going to layer probably like 3 colors on here. If you don't have 3 different oranges, like a darker, medium, and light, just use 2. That's okay. Or use a darker orange, a lighter orange, and even a little bit of yellow or white on top, but that's okay too. So here's my medium, my next color. It's like a regular orange color. So I'm going to color right over the red, doing the same thing. Not worrying so much about getting all my strokes really close together. It's okay if a little bit of my paper shows through or the red shows through, orange red underneath. That's okay. There we go. It's looking good. You can see the two different colors and it's kind of blending together a little bit. And then I'm going to use a little bit lighter orange on the top. It's just really nice layered oil pastel. Looks really cool. It gives your vase a little more pop. All right. Now, if you even have, I layered 3 colors. Even if you have a lighter color than that, like I have a really light peach color, I might just go over real lightly or pressing firmly, just one more layer of my peach over the top. You don't have to do this. That's totally up to you. That's 4 layers, but you can use 2 or 3 if that's all you have. Here. Okay, so now I'm going to work on my flower, and the center of my flower is usually darker. I'm not going to use black at all in my coloring. We're going to use black at the very end. So I'm going to actually use a dark brown to start with instead of black. So I'm going to color my center of my flower the same way that I colored my vase, not worrying if I'm going in the same direction, allowing a little bit of my background to show through, but definitely pushing down to get a nice bold color. All right, so now I'm going to use a little bit lighter brown to go over the top. I kind of have a reddish brown here that I'm going to go over the top of it with. Remember, darker colors first, and then lighter colors on top. And then a little tan color that I have in there in my box of oil pastels. So when you are layering your colors, I like to use similar colors, like different shades of the same color. If you don't have lots of shades of the same color, you can always use a color close to that. So like orange, you could use a red or a yellow and on that if you needed to. All right, and I think just a hint of this little gold color on the very top. Just a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to start with my yellow leaves of my sunflower. So I am going to start with a little bit. I'm not going to start with that gold that I just used, but I have several shades of yellow. So I'm going to start with kind of a dark gold, yellow. So I'm going to color in all my petals. And instead of reaching across my paper, sometimes it's easier if you just turn your paper around as you're coloring, and then you don't smear your color by resting your hand in it. It's a little trick to coloring, especially if you're using something that can smear. All right, so like I said before, you don't have to worry about getting it exactly perfectly filled in because we are going to layer the colors, and we want to see some of those strokes and lines of your coloring in there. All right, so I'm going to go get my next yellow, a little bit lighter yellow, and color over the top of that. There we go. All right, I'm going to take one more yellow, really light yellow that I have here, and do it one more time over the top. Those are nice and bright yellow leaves, or I'm sorry, petals. We haven't got to the leaves yet. All right. Now I usually tap my paper to get those little bits of oil pastel off. All right. So now I'm going to take some greens, start with my dark green and color in my stem. I'm doing it the same way that I colored before, making sure I'm pressing firm but not too concerned with getting all the area filled in perfectly. Another little bit lighter shade of green. And then one lighter green. All right. So now my background. Select my example here. I am going to use complementary colors again. So maybe you want to make the background purple and the table blue. You can do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the table purple and the background blue just because I really like that. So I'm going to start with my table and use a really dark purple. And go ahead and color the same way. Push down so you get lots of nice color. But don't worry so much about keeping your lines really close together or all in the same direction. You can do different directions and make bigger lines. It's kind of a fun way to color. Your coloring actually goes a little quicker that way too. All right, so now I'm going to take a little bit lighter purple. I have a little piece of light purple because my oil pastel broke, so I'm going to try to use that up. It's okay if your oil pastels break. You can use the little bits and pieces until they're all gone. All right, and I have one more little bit lighter shade of purple that I'm going to put on top. Oh yeah, that looks so pretty. I like purples and blues. Those are my favorite colors, and greens. I like greens too. Lots of cool colors. We're using warm and cool today. All right. There, see how I have those nice, I don't know if you can see that very well in the screen, but I have some nice bold lines there. I might even just add a bit more. I have a really, really light purple, like almost a white purple, and I think I'm going to add just a little bit of that. And I might only add that on part of my table where the light is hitting it, maybe in the back here. I think I'm going to use a little bit when I do my black later underneath to create a shadow look under my pot. So there, different directions. That looks cool. All right, now my background. I need a really dark blue. There's a nice dark blue. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to turn my paper around instead of reaching across and peel my oil pastel so I can have more available there. I use mine a lot, so they get worn down quickly. All right, so don't worry about going the same direction again. You just want big strokes, but push down so you get lots of nice dark color, bold, vivid color. And make sure to use your darkest blue first. We want to do the darker and then the medium and then the lighter on top. All right, I'll do the other side. I like coloring oil pastels on black paper too. It shows up really nicely. All right, now I'm going to use a little bit lighter blue on top of that, like a medium shade of blue, and do the same thing. Color over all that darker blue. And you're not worried that a little bit of paper or dark blue is showing underneath. You want that because it shows off your big bold strokes a little bit better. All right, now the other side. All right, one more. Let's see. Here's a light blue that's really pretty. It's a really pretty blue. Oh yeah, that looks good. And I want to make sure that I'm using big strokes so I can see some of that blue coming through underneath. Here we go. We're almost done with this. We just one step after we add this last bit of blue. We're going to take our black and trace over our lines everywhere, the edge of everything, so that gets a nice bold black edge. And I'll show you the difference in just a minute. Okay, so love it. So in my first one, see how this one is finished and I took my black and just traced over all my outlined everything in thick black line. Look at the difference when you do that. So it makes a huge difference. It makes your picture just pop. So I'm going to go ahead now and use my black. And I'm just going to trace over, and you can make it a nice thick line. You want to make sure that you're pushing down, getting a nice thick color of black line there. Not just tracing, but coloring a thick line. We want a bold outline. Here's where, let me finish my pot and then I'm going to show you something too. Okay. Underneath my pot, I'm just going to color a little bit of black. Not super hard, just a little bit to kind of give it that more of a shadow look. Give it some interest there. There we go. And then I'm going to finish tracing all my lines, my leaves, and my stem. Another thing it does is hides that white that you use to trace over your eraser marks. Okay, so just my petals now. And when you're done, you will have some color on your black. So you just take a paper towel and wipe it on a paper towel, and that color will come off. You want to do that with oil pastels, or otherwise you'll get a mixture of colors next time you go to use it. Almost finished. This is a really fun project that you can be very creative, because you could make any type of flower you wanted. It just has to just have a simple outline, simple shape to it. There we go. There. So there we have our finished sunflower in a pot. Well, I hope you've enjoyed doing this project with me. Feel free to send me a picture of your finished project. I'd love to see students' work. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me.